Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Toon review for our first ever Howay The Lasses show. We are going to obviously have a weekly show now on a Wednesday night with myself and Sam, chatting about the women's team and making sure that they get what shall we say, the crowd or the what should I say, Sam? I mean,
the spotlight, the
spotlight.
accolade, the
Yes,
bloody
that's the word I was
deserve
looking
it, they're
for,
doing
yeah.
class. How are the Lasses?
So we decided that we're going to. I know there's other channels cover Newcastle, Newcastle Fans TV and Adam Pearson being the two that really cover them the most. But I don't think anyone does a real live show, just basically talking about the Lasses, which we are going to do now every week on a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock throughout the season, and obviously in the summer to keep you updated with any new signings, etc. Obviously, we have the cup final coming up on Sunday, which is going to be a massive occasion for the Lasses as well. So we will be discussing all of that. We've got a very special guest coming on, Aran, who commentates on the Newcastle ladies team and, of course, has a very, very interesting background as well, Sam.
Certainly does, man. Honestly, I can't wait to do the intro when we bring Aran on, because just an amazing career and an amazing person who's just achieved so much, and now to be representing the ladies at Newcastle's just fabulous. So I can't wait for you all to meet her.
Yeah. George is asking in the chat if we can get live commentary of the women's games. Well, we can do watch-alongs when they're on sort of YouTube and things like that. Without a doubt, we can watch them and do watch-alongs. But obviously, when they're on YouTube and things like that, then go and listen to Aran's commentary and things like that, and they do a fantastic job. So, we'll see what happens in the future, of course, as they rise up the ranks. One thing I will say. We're not talking about Sven Botman tonight, guys. I know there's been a lot of chat before we started about his injury. I've already done a video on it. Please go and watch that after the show. It's had thousands of views already in the space of 40 minutes. But just this is about the Lasses tonight. And obviously, when we get back to normal service with the men's team from tomorrow onwards, you can discuss it then. But this Wednesday night show is primarily for the Lasses and to give them the spotlight, as Sam says. But please do hit that like button as normal if you do enjoy tonight's show. And if you're new and you like what you see, please do subscribe. If you're a fan of the women's team, subscribe. And, of course, hit that notification bell. That will let you know when we schedule the live shows or we upload any videos such as the one I've just done on Sven Botman, of course. But without further ado, let's bring in our very special guest tonight. It's Aran. Good evening.
Hiya, how are you doing?
We are very well. Thank you very much for joining us tonight for the first ever Howay The Lasses show on the channel. So we're hoping to really put a spotlight on the Lasses team now and for the future, really. I know Sam's done our homework tonight to ask you a few questions. So what we'll do is we'll get to know you a bit, Aran, and then we'll look at the league table and the cup final, of course, which is coming up at the weekend as well. So take it away, Sam.
Yeah, and I didn't have to do a lot of homework because I know Aran very, very well. So yeah, I need to just give you a buckle up, because a mic drop introduction to Aran's career. So at 10 years old, Aran played with the boys team at school. That stopped when new rules came in about separating the genders. And thanks to the school caretaker, found her a team that she could actually play with, which was such an amazing thing. And I think that's really stayed with Aran as well in terms of people who've helped in her career. Ended up being called up for England senior level at only 14 years old to represent the country. Went on to play for the England under-18s as well as the senior level. 4 England caps at World Cup qualifiers. Played for Sunderland Women, the top of the league, Doncaster Bells, scoring a whopping 50 goals in a single season. One of the first ever women from the Northeast to represent their country in women's football. Offered scholarships to Connecticut University, Harvard University in America, stayed true to the roots, which I absolutely love about Aran, to play for a home club in the UK, and then was recently awarded, as you'll see in the background, that beautiful framed England legacy cap, number 137, and as we all now know, is commentating for Newcastle Women. absolutely unbelievable career. So thank you so much for joining us, Aran. You are absolutely an inspiration. And yeah, what a career. What's it? I think the first thing I want to get out of the gates with is what's it like being transitioning from the pitch to the commentator's box now?
Yeah. To be honest, as a player, I was very much analyze my own game. Um, my parents, well, my dad was a big fan of mine, and he was an ex-player, and he videoed pretty much every game. So I used to come home and analyze my own performance, which was probably added to me success. Uh,
Yeah.
so I really I already did that for my own performance. So then transitioning to doing commentary, it is a lot different. And there's a big difference between obviously a TV commentary and your radio commentary of how you describe things. But generally, I've took it from experience of my analyze my own performance. So I found it a little bit easier, probably the majority of people to transition because I was already I'm that sort of person. I analyze it generally day to day life. Not always good, but I do. So taking up the commentary was something that came quite natural, to be fair.
Do you ever
Absolutely
get
love
into
it.
the situation when you're doing the commentary, Aran, and you're just sort of sitting there and there's a brilliant goal scored or something happens on the pitch? Do you still have that drive and desire to wish you were back out there?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I do miss it. You know, I do wake up, and because it became me life, sometimes from 5 in the morning training down at Loughborough up until 8, 10 at night training.
Mhm.
And then I say obviously the difference in women's football now is just catapulted, especially in the last 3 years. It's absolutely amazing to see the amount of support the women's team's getting, the
Yeah.
perception of people's opinions have changed. Um, and yeah, I would love to pull a pair of boots on and those those lasses got to play in St James's Park, and
Yeah.
that was always a big dream of mine. I played at the Reebok, Britannia. I played at some big stadium, Highbury when Arsenal were there.
Yeah.
But Newcastle was always the one where I would have given anything to run out on that field. And I suppose I've just passed that generation, but it's fantastic that the lasses now have got that opportunity that they didn't have before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you know what I think as well? We're seeing like the women's team, like Arsenal, selling out stadiums now,
Mhm.
and just the following for the game. I think it's exploded since the winning Euros run. Us getting a record attendance at St James's, it must have been an amazing feeling for the lasses to get that sort of opportunity. So it's clear that the appetite for the women's game is growing. But what would you say that our sort of viewers can do to help the young women in their lives maybe get into the game a little bit more? Like it could be daughters, nieces, family, friends. Is there anything
Mm.
that they can do to help the young women in their lives actually get into the sport and access it?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like, you know, women's football, obviously due to perception, it's support. The support down to say the women's team down at Kingston Park, the support if it's that child, if it's someone within the family that wants to, get involved. Again, it's schools now. Schools are really pushing it, which is fantastic to see. I was back when I was at school, I would play with the lads at dinner time, break time. I was at a centre of excellence for the Northeast with lads, and who then went on to play at professional levels. But then I went in my PE lesson and I had to go and play rounders. I wasn't allowed to go and play football, but I was going to be playing with them in 10 minutes time because it was dinner time.
Yeah.
So that's been eliminated now, and I think you know people's opinion has massively changed, and that's help. And I think they just need support and guidance. A lot of youngsters now still, that because of that sort of perception, they lack confidence, especially from grassroots. And we all need to be a bit more conscious and get on board and help these little girls push forward.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Premier League are doing a lot of incentives to try and push women's football as well. Because my daughter Lily, she's only in year 6, I think it is year 6. and just before Christmas there was an incentive on for, I think it was a period of 4 to 5 weeks, where they would get the schools together, and they had a little sort of league competition between themselves, only 10 minutes each way. Sometimes they played once or twice a night. But it was great to see so many girls, so many young girls running around a football field with really strong commitment to win the game as well. It was, gone are these days, I think, of, at least they went out there and they did the best kind of thing. There was a real desire from all of them to win. And that for me is great to see. And it's nice that the Premier League are running incentives like that.
Yeah, they are. They're getting right behind it. Even with coaches, they want more women's coaches involved, which is brilliant to see.
Yeah.
Women's football lacked a lot of funding, and that was a big part of the problem. And now they've had that exposure from the European Championship from the Lionesses, and the Lionesses going ahead and winning it. It's kind of changed and turned everything on its head, because the big sponsors have come in, the money's starting to come in, which then you can plow that in from grassroots and build it, which is exactly what they're doing. So no, it's fantastic to see. And from when I used to play, there was 2 teams in Newcastle. That was it. There was 2 teams. So you can imagine what we're lucky if we could field a team sometimes. And then you can see 28 women in the Northeast were only playing for our club. That was it.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to see kids just, my daughter was saying, I want to be just like Charlotte Potts, and you'd never heard that 2 or 3 years ago. It's advanced so well.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I was smiling the other week, and I'd gone to St. James's to do like a party appearance, and went in the club shop, and I hadn't been in for a while. And I walked through the door, and I seen Charlotte Potts, and I seen Daisy on the wall on the left hand side, and I kind of stopped for a minute, and it actually took us back. And the person I was with was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, I just needed a second to take in and absorb the impact that the women's football's having now, to see them on the wall with their Newcastle strips alongside the men. And I thought, we're nearly there. We're nearly there. And I think it was still a long way prior to the Lionesses' victory, we're probably 10 years behind. And I think it's now fast forward. It's just catapulted everything to the forefront. And it's fantastic to see. And I'm always now trying to inspire others to get involved and trying to push the Northeast. A lot of the players previously were from down south, so the England team was made up primarily of southern players. There wasn't anyone from up here. And I thought to myself, why can't I be one of these? I was playing with the lads team at Blythe, and that was, like I say, there was the best in my age group for the whole in the Northeast lads there, and I was part of that. And I thought, you know what it is? If I'm getting picked to be in here, I can kind of, why can't a girl from up here be picked? So I made it my kind of challenge to break down barriers, and thought, I want to be in there. And luckily I had the support. I was very lucky. And when you were mentioning before, this is how important it is for, families to support women playing football, because I was fortunate. I had my dad, who was my biggest support, and he took me everywhere, and he could fund it, which was a big thing. Some girls don't have that, but I managed to get where I wanted to be and hit the challenge I had.
Brilliant.
And I mean, I think you did it in magnificent style, and I sort of wanted to ask a question about you getting awarded that England legacy cap and seeing like all of the previous Lionesses actually coming through and actually being recognised for their contributions and what they've done and how they've actually catapulted the game in the way that they have for the women. So I think for me, I would love to understand actually what it was like receiving the legacy cap. Like, who was there? How did it feel? What was it like?
Oh, it was amazing. It was just a fantastic experience. I mean, things have changed now. I used to, train down at Bisham Abbey in Lilleshall. That's where we trained, and there was no security on a gate. Anyone really, when I think about it now, could have walked in, would pull in on the coach, jump off, and we just had a field that we'd run on. Don't get us wrong, the field was, the grass was like a bowling green, but it was very much open for anyone could wander in or anything. And going down to receive my legacy cap, I walked into St. George's Park, and again, it was that moment of, I'm a bit stunned here. Like, everything was obviously security was through the roof. The facilities were out of this world. And yeah, we went into like the gym hall where you probably see on social media. And they do a lot of the fun stuff. And we went in there, and there was quite a few of us, to be honest. There was about, I would say, 150 of us easy, because they were doing it in sections, and they separate them into, I think, about 10 to 15 players on each table, and then they brought the current lionesses in, and Leah did a speech just to say kind of that she was kind of standing on the shoulders of giants, which was a lovely, humble thing to
Yeah,
say.
absolutely.
And for my cap, obviously everyone got their cap from different players, and mine was presented by Alex Greenwood.
All right.
So yeah, it was all very much nice. They were all on, presented lovely on a table, and it was just like we're all looking at them thinking, wow, we've got our own number in history. Like, this
Yeah.
is like amazing, So yeah, it
That
was
must
a
have been
nice
an
touch.
incredible feeling. That just to, it's standing on the shoulders of greats, hearing the current, Leah Williamson saying that, and then standing there or sitting there just taking it all in, thinking, wow, that's how they think of us, because you guys started it, really. You've all started it, and the England setup is, just look at the Euros and the World Cups now, how much they're covered by TV and the audiences. But you guys were, responsible for starting it all off. You got the ball rolling, kind of thing.
Yeah, we did, and it was hard back in the day. It was hard even to, get a coach from Newcastle. And my mum at the time ended up being the secretary of Blythe Spartans, because we changed names numerous times due to we didn't have funds. And just to get that bus down to London on a weekend to see whatever game we were playing next Sunday was struggle to get that money. So we spent a lot of time in Asda and Tesco's and places like that,
Jesus.
backpacking, just to fund to play our games. Obviously, the lasses now, I look at it and on a huge scale, and I think, they don't have that, which is fantastic. It's all done for them. They've got everyone running around behind them, which is great. And it just means they can focus on themselves and their own training, where we had a little bit more to do, but I'm glad, that it's changed for the better.
Well, it's amazing. Sorry, Sam. It's amazing just to watch like social media come out today. Newcastle United men's team have all these videos of them doing daft competitions in training, and then one comes out today with Casey and Anna doing a little competition between themselves in the same area as the men do it. It's quite incredible to see now.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I've seen that myself on social media today, and I was smiling, and I thought that was great. And Newcastle they're really behind the women, massively. Amanda Stavely comes to the games, she mingles with the crowd, she brings her family with her, she's always supporting them, she runs on the pitch, the semi-final, she ran on the pitch and was cuddling them all. And it's not you can we all know, you can tell when something isn't safe. You can just tell when it's a true feeling. And she is like that. You can see it. She's genuinely ecstatic. And
Yeah.
we're quite fortunate that the owners that we've got now they're very focused on the women's side of things. And that's a big part of probably the success they're having. They've built a platform now. They brought in Sue Cummins, who's the director, and she started one of the first women's football teams in the Northeast, Cowgate Kestrels. We're going back 30 years. So she's got experience from the very bottom, from when I started. She was one of my coaches. But yeah, they've built it up, and they're still going. There's still a long way to go. They're still, the tier they're in, but they're walking the league. They're walking the league.
Yeah, and do you know what, Aran? I think it's one of these things where we talk about, you know, the impact and the investment that they've had, and we're so fortunate that, you know, Newcastle Women have become a full-time club now. Like, and that's thanks to the new ownership. You came from a time where you had to pay to play and filling shopping bags for donations and things, but some of our lasses have still had to take career breaks and, you know, really put other things on hold to take a shot, to take a chance to do the thing that they love. But how much of a difference do you think that it makes to confidence to be actually given these opportunities for the lasses individually?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, majority, apart from the WSL and some of the championship, majority of these people have got, you know, full-time jobs
Yeah.
outside of football, and they train on a night time. They struggle to make a living out of it now that obviously Newcastle are the only ones in that league, being able to be professional. But yeah, it is making a massive difference as well for fitness for them, with them being professional. But confidence wise, like, I would have dropped everything to have been able to go fully professional for my club. I played for Doncaster Bells, and it was them and Arsenal at the top.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even professional then. I was at an academy, the England Academy, which was at Loughborough.
Mm.
But yeah, it was people were still working. People in my Doncaster Bells team, if they weren't part of the England squad, or even if they were still working. So it's amazing to see, and it can only grow, you know, for young
Mm.
kids looking to like what you're saying. You're seeing them in the, you know, the Newcastle shop windows, and seeing them on social media, and they're looking up to Charlotte Potts and things like that, and I'm seeing them signing autographs for, you know, at the end of the game, they're all lining up, the kids, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. They've got something to aspire to, and they can think now, you know, I can be a professional footballer, where
Mm.
before, like, they couldn't say that because, you know, just wasn't there.
Yeah, it's so true. And I mean, they've had a phenomenal season, the lasses, the top of the league at the minute, and they've got players like, you know, Donnelly, Barker, Gibson, McQuaid, Galloway, Potts. Like, there's so many. But we had some really good mid-season signings as well. Cataldo and like Bailey Gale, like the first signing from Jamaica. Lunsden as well got again the first goal against Derby, I think that was. And you know, it just seems like it's been a really transformational time, and you've become a commentator at a really exciting time for the club. So I think it shows sort of not only your caliber, but the club's ambition in it as well. But I'd like to probably ask you how you've seen the lasses evolve this season with the new signings, and with having obviously Amanda's backing and Becky behind the team as well.
Yeah, I've seen I've seen them unfold, and improve throughout nearly every game.
Mhm.
Um, they've the signings that have come in, obviously great to see, you know, which has strengthened the squad even better. Bailey Gale up front, she's come in, she made an impact straight away. Jamaican international. Lumsden from Portsmouth, she's exceptional. On the wing, very skillful. Delivery of the ball, fantastic. Again, great signing. Um, you've got the likes of Emma Kelly, centre
Emma
midfield.
Kelly's passing is incredible. The games I've watched this season, she's like a quarterback. Some of the passes that she can put around the pitch are just incredible.
Phenomenal. Emma Kelly for me has had probably the player of the season so far for us. She's
Mm.
when you're sitting there and you're watching her, even when she hasn't got the ball, it's what she's doing off the ball as well, pulling players left, right, and centre to make space, and a passing ability. And again with Charlotte Potts, if it's not coming from Emma Kelly in the middle and just
It's
slotting
coming
balls
from
behind
Potsy,
through
yeah.
the defence, it's coming from Potsy at the back with the
Mm.
long balls over the top diagonal. So them two have been exceptional. And then you've got the likes of Katie Barker, and Georgia Gibson seem to pop up when you need goals the most. They're
Well,
great
it's funny
for.
you should mention that, because I was sitting in Starbucks the other day, sitting outside, waiting. Me and my fiance and the kids were sitting in the car in Durham, and Georgia Gibson was just pulled up and walked across the car park with her. I think she was with her mum. And I said to Susan, my partner, I says, that's Georgia Gibson. Now, again, going back a few years, you'd have never sort of even batted an eyelid. But obviously she's there with a personalized number plate. So there was a 100% her. But I'm thinking, it must be strange for them as well, because now they've been sort of boosted into the spotlight and have all these sort of people recognizing them. I mean, I didn't want to go up to her and say anything because I thought I'm 6'5", huge idiot of a man running up to her like a school kid. But this quote from Katie Barker from the weekend just sort of sums everything up for me. Of course, getting that winning goal at the weekend, it was one of the best feelings I've ever had playing for this club. It was such an important game, and we had to go out and get something from it. We made it very difficult for ourselves, but it's unbelievable to get the win. That celebration at the end, with Becky and everybody, was just unbelievable, Aran.
Yeah. And Newcastle have had one of them seasons where everyone they've played, they've been the Goliaths, really. Like, everyone's been scared to play them, thinking top of the league, 12 points clear. We're playing Newcastle, they're professional. So they've already, it's kind of, they've been scared to any opponent that they've been up against. And the weekend, they didn't have the best of starts. They went 2-0 down in the first half. But again, from what you were saying earlier, Sam, this is the difference now. They're professional. That in the second half, you're seeing 2 quick goals come level things up, and then Katie Barker she just directed the header perfect.
That header was just simply brilliant. The way
it was, and she's not that big either. Kate,
no.
she's really small, to be fair, but I tell you what, she leapt up there, and the defenders had no chance, and it was straight in the bottom corner. But that's a difference. See, they're training every day. The fitness levels are going to be a lot higher. And I just think that was the first time Newcastle were properly tested, and they still managed to win 3-2. And I think the fitness levels was the biggest impact in the second half between the two teams, because obviously they're not professional and Newcastle are doing it every day. So it just goes to show like the difference if you've got the backing, you've got the support, and you've got the funding to do it.
I think you just saw the togetherness, Sam, couldn't you? Yeah.
You could see what it meant. Everybody, and they're just making that beeline over to Becky, and just like seeing the face, like, yes, come on, amazing. It was amazing to see.
So level-headed, the girls as well. When
there doesn't seem to be any big-headedness, and that's what I was going to ask you about, Aran, because everybody, when they do these videos, they put on social media when they're walking on the training pitch, and they get asked these daft questions about, who they got on the wallpaper of the phone, or who's the favorite singer, or who reminds them of this and that. They all seem so down to earth and just so nice to be around and pleasant, and there's not one of them that walks past as if they've got some kind of different personality. They're also, it just looks a very, very close-knit environment.
It is really close, and when you're in and amongst it, you actually see that. And it's not just when people say, "Oh, they're really close," or they are really close. Like they're a lovely group of women, and they take it in their stride. They always go and sign autographs, and they've got plenty of time. But they are like, they're level-headed, and which is good. It's good to see, and then they're nice to speak to. I went to Kingston Park, I think it was last year. Yeah, it would have been the back end of last year, probably about August, and I had a talk with them, and like to inspire them, and spent an hour with them, and they were brilliant. They interacted, they were asking questions, they were very intrigued. You could see they wanted to learn. So no, I can't. Lasses were they're absolutely fantastic, and they're having a cracking season.
Can I just ask one thing? Obviously, they went professional at the start of this season, and there was a few players obviously released. How difficult was that for Becky during the summer to decide who was going to stay on and earn that full-time contract, and who was getting released? Because there was some names I was, obviously watching them the season before and things like that, and think, oh my God, they've released such and such. How difficult a job was that for Becky and her staff?
To be honest with you, it's got to. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it would have been very difficult. As any manager, and you've got to. I've done coaching myself with clubs previously years ago, and unfortunately, there's always got to be people left out. And it's a hard conversation to have, because it's from the opposite side, as from a player, it's a disappointing message to land at you. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you can only have so much in a squad, and I suppose for me, my personal opinion is like, if I ever got left out, I would want to prove someone wrong, so it would inspire me to push even more. But yeah, it's got to have been difficult, and it's it's hard when you've got to leave people out. It really is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And do you know what, for me, you talked before about, there's almost a humbleness there, like keeping the feet on the ground and true to roots, which is great, and the relationship that everybody's got. But you can see there's a real, like, it's like a kinship between like Becky and Amanda. Like, I've seen Amanda like there present and absolutely loving the atmosphere, loving what she's doing. Becky and Amanda clearly have got a great relationship, like making a beeline and just like hugging and like really conversational as well. And it's not just for Becky. She goes around the staff, the players. I feel we're so fortunate to have her. But probably an interesting one is to say, we're quite fortunate in Newcastle United that we've got such a strong woman representing not just the women's team, but actually the men's team as well. How important do you think that is, Aran, in the game of football, regardless of gender today, to have a woman representing a club?
Yeah, it's fantastic to see, because there isn't many around that are involved in actually running a football club. And she, as you can see, and you'll see yourself from interviews, and that she's a strong character. She knows what she's doing. She's got a business head on, but she's also, like you see with the lasses, it's not fake. It's not fake. Like, you would think, oh, she's just doing that, and she's not. Like, she genuinely, the emotions there. She's running on the pitch. She's cuddling. She's straight. She makes phone calls, checking on the scores when she's not there. She's very much in it, and which makes it's a big difference. It's not like half-hearted. She's all in. She's all in with both teams, and you can see that. Obviously, the men, it's a building block again, the same as the women. They kind of just throw everything because of the fair play with how much they can spend, but that will come. And the team that we always had back in the day, when we had Beardsley, Ginola, it was Sprilia. I remember being at St James's watching what team that with King Kev, and them days are coming back. It's just a matter of time. We just can't spend because we're not allowed to against regulations now. But the next 5 years, Man City, as we know it now, we're going to be there. We'll mimic exactly what Man City are doing, but it'll be Newcastle, and it's about time the Newcastle supporters in the Northeast had something like that and had our team back.
It's sweeter that we've done it the right way as well.
Exactly.
Risen from the ranks. There is a few questions coming for you as well, Aran. But we'll just take a quick look at where this is the form table. Now, Newcastle, the league was kind of close at one stage during the season, wasn't it? And then it's kind of changed dramatically over the course of the last few weeks, because I'm just trying to load the right screenshot up here, because I've got myself in a bit of a pickle here. But that's obviously 6 wins on the bounce, and then you look at the league table. I mean, how many games are left now? 4. 4 league games. I mean, surely it's incredible how they've kept it going, though, because there is some decent sides in that league, obviously, but the way they've maintained the form, and as you said, I think against Wolves was a real test, because 2-0 down at half time, that hasn't happened a lot for the lasses, but to show the desire and the passion and the commitment to come back like they did justifies where they are in the league.
I mean, we've seen it with Newcastle men, Man United years ago, where I can't remember, it was 15 points clear. That was it, 12 points clear. And it's highly unlikely from my point of view that to me, I think they're going to do the double. They're going to do the cup and the league. I think it would take something for them to lose it now. they're too superior. Again, down to fitness, technical ability as well. I mean, we've got a lot of really good, strong players in there. And when you think we played Portsmouth, which is the southern side of things, the Southern League, the equivalent, and we beat them quite comfortably, really.
Should have been more on the day, shouldn't it? Really,
It should
the
have.
chances we had, yeah.
100%. It should have been more. So out of both leagues, we're still way ahead. I cannot see us now losing top spot. I really cannot. I can see the double coming. Obviously, we've got the game at the weekend on Saturday. That's obviously very exciting. Cannot wait to go down off to Luton, and it's quite a. It's
Do you
going to be
think that's a strange place, Aran, to have the cup final, Kenilworth Road? It doesn't exactly stand out as the stadium that's sort of, I don't know, that deserves a cup final. Surely there was other stadiums that they could have put this on at. I mean, I know it's a 12,000 seater stadium. It's big, but you see where I'm going. It's a strange stadium as it is in the middle of a housing estate.
Yeah.
It's a weird one for me, that.
Yeah. It's an anniversary. I'm sure it's an anniversary of I don't know if it's the cup or
Right.
whether it's England. I'm not sure. There is something behind it as to why, they've chose it. But it's going to be quite emotional for me, and the reason I say that is because that's where I first got my first England cap.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, that was the first time
Awesome.
I played against Spain. Was at Kenilworth Road. So I'm happy it's there for me. Although I've got a lot of driving to do. On Friday night, I'm going to stay down at my nephew's for the weekend, and obviously go to the game the next day. But no, I can see what you're saying, why that stadium, and I think as well what we've got to look at is when you think about when the FA choose it a good couple of months prior to when it's announced and things like that. It'll have been chosen a while ago. The size of it, like. If they picked a huge stadium, would the two teams fill it? Probably not. So they've gone for a smaller stadium, but I don't know why that exact stadium. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure.
Well, I was going to say, Aran, the fans at the women's game, and absolutely epic. The war flags, the amazing display they did for Becky. I think that was the Wolves game maybe. And it was absolutely fantastic. Traveling en masse as well, like the singing, the banging of the drums and everything. And I think it was even when we saw them play My New Ladies, like actually come over and applaud our traveling fans, and it must mean the absolute world to the lasses to actually get that type of support, and actually people are traveling down to show the gratitude and to show the support for the ladies. What would you probably recommend to people who are watching right now to do to show their support for the lasses?
Get yourself down on Saturday and watch the game. If you can't make it down to the final, of course, get yourself to Kingston Park. There's 2,500 religiously there, which is fantastic.
Is it on TV anywhere, Aran? Is it been covered anywhere, this final?
I don't think they can with a blackout, but I do. I have heard that BBC Radio Newcastle are covering it.
Right.
And I don't know. That's just radio, so it is. You can listen to it. I don't think you can actually view it.
That's such a shame, because I mean, not everyone can get to Kenilworth Road, but still would want to watch the game, wouldn't they? That's really disappointing.
Yeah,
it would be a big showcase for the lasses. Sorry, Sam, it would be a big showcase.
Yeah. No, 100%. I get it. 100%. I get it. I don't know the logistics behind it. I just go from what I'm directed with the media team. But yeah, like there's got to be a reason why they can't. Us 150% there would be. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I get it. If you can go, there's still tickets left. Get yourself down there, and it should be a fantastic day.
And Paul, you made a really good point before. really rudely cut over you. Sorry, I really wanted to say something about this, because I think to grow the women's game, that we need to have an element of free broadcasting on. And you know, I know there's there can be a lot of controversy sometimes between like people who actually like attend the match in person and, you know, people who actually watch it at home. But there's so many different factors. There's, you know, people's economic circumstances, there's accessibility, there's so many different factors. And I think actually having, you know, what Newcastle have started to do with the YouTube feeds, accessible ticket prices for people, and there seems to be a real family friendly atmosphere at the park as well. So how much of an impact do you think that makes in terms of getting more people into the games?
Yeah, it is. It is very family orientated. There's loads of young ones there. I've had a lot of people even message me on Facebook saying, how do I get tickets, things like that. And I just direct them, say, go on the Newcastle website. But yeah, like 100%, like I can't push people enough to come and support the girls. Like we put what we do on, you know, the streaming. We put it on Newcastle TV, stream it to that. We're streaming it in both areas, and we've seen it grow and grow and grow from when, you know, we first started streaming it until the last game, where it's been grown in the thousands of listening. So if you can't get to the game, by all means, try and at least watch it online and
well,
Brian's
saying here the final's on the FA Player.
Say that again, sorry.
The final is apparently on the FA Player.
That
you
possibly
know,
might be right then. I don't, like I say,
amazing.
Yeah.
We've also got somebody you might recognize in the chat, Aran. Somebody called Aran Embleton. Amazing, Aran. Can't wait for Saturday. Howay The Lasses. Love your wife. There you go. Always been supported.
Yes.
Sam, have you got any more questions, or can we dive into some of the viewers' questions?
Let's go into viewers' questions. Let's do it.
Let's have a look. Some interesting ones. One from Foxy says, does Aran have any regrets in her playing career? I'm sure she would have had opportunities to go to the US and play.
Yes, I did. I had quite a few scholarships when I was younger, at 16. Connecticut, Harvard. And at the time, the US women's football is huge. It's huge now. You know, like totally different worlds to here. You know, years ago, there was a player called Mia Hamm. She was the US, like the figurehead. And she was getting millions just for an advert. And obviously no one looked at football here. The difference was just so different. Yeah, I mean, at times I do look back. You say never to regret things, but I was very young at the time. I was 16, thinking about going to the opposite side of the world on my own. I do look back and think, what if? But I would always now, you know, push youngsters into saying, do it. Like, you've got nothing to lose. But ultimately, I was true to my grassroots, and I'm black and white through and through. I'm a home bird. I love me city kind of thing. You know, I'm one of them. So ultimately, like, it's hard to say what would have been and what isn't, because other things have come out of it now. I live in Newcastle. You know, I'm doing the commentary. I'm doing a lot of other stuff in the background, and there's a lot of exciting stuff coming that you'll probably be seeing soon. So yeah, the direction took the way it took. I cannot really look back and go, what if? But one of them.
I think that's interesting, because I think any sportsman feels like that. You know, I played ice hockey growing up, and I kind of look back and think, should I have moved there? Should that have been different? And I think anybody, but then you have to look at what you've actually achieved and think, hang on a minute, you know, so the regrets. Look at what I've actually, you know, achieved in my career, and still, you're still part of Newcastle United women's team now, and the growth of that, which is fantastic. Philip says, would you love to see a woman coach a men's team? That is the next step to get to win things. Can you see this happening in the future? One manager, Aran, that I think seems made to manage a men's team, and that's Emma Hayes. I know she's off to America, but she just seems the one that really could do the job.
100%. I was just going to say that before you said the name. I said, and I've had conversations with numerous people about this over the last couple of months. I would say within the next 3 years, there'll be a women's manager managing a Premier League men's club. And I think the first one probably is going to be Emma Hayes.
But
If
that
she
won't impress
isn't,
Joey Barton, will it? Dear
if
God.
it isn't, if she isn't, I don't know what our contract length is now. She's obviously going to be managing the USA, but
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's the next big step, and it will happen. It's just a matter of time. But I do think it's probably going to be Emma that will do that. She's had huge success at Chelsea.
Yeah.
She's got the platform for it. She's got the experience for it. She's just molded for that position, and probably it's going to be some, a big historical event when it happens.
We're starting to see the officials come through, of course, as well, which is great. Sam, do you want to read that one that's up on the screen now? Can you see it?
Why do girls go to America on scholarships to gain experience? Can it not be attained in the UK?
Right, yeah. So originally, there wasn't anything set up in the UK to play football, as everyday sport. There wasn't. And the USA colleges are like that. It's a bit like being a professional, but you're getting a scholarship. Everything's paid for.
Yeah.
I was part of the first ever women's academy at Durham and Durham College. It was originally then classed as the FA one before they moved it and went to Loughborough. But it was at Durham, and that was the first women's academy and I think lads academy, to be honest, in the whole country. Now we're now fast forwarding 20 years, about 20 years, and there's an academy nearly in every college. I drive past now and it'll say sports academy, and it is. And I know a lot of youngsters now in them academies. It's everywhere around the country. So beforehand, we didn't, and obviously the Americans did come over here and they were looking at all your potential, players with great potential, picking them up and taking them over there. And obviously, as a girl playing football, people were jumping at it, going to America, having everything paid for, playing football, every day. It was a dream. That's what they wanted, and coming away with a degree. We don't need to do that anymore. Like the UK now has got, and it makes us smile to say this, we have that facility now. We have that funds.
Yeah.
The councils put all the money into it for the colleges. It's the investments there now. It was never there. So originally, it was, you're quite right. Why we were taking all our people, why we're taking all our players and our potential away to a different country? Why aren't we keeping them here? We are now, but it's took this flip of a coin, and it's all down to the Lionesses to do this.
Yeah. CJ is asking, and I was going to ask you about this as well. Any news on Alicia Body, and is she fit to play? She seems to be the mainstay in the Lasses midfield, but been out for some time. Don't get much info about the team. The injury side of the Lasses team, I think, is the one that I think a lot of people want to hear more of, because for me, when sort of I've watched the games on YouTube or anywhere like that, and I see that certain players aren't playing, and you kind of think, oh, what's up with her? But Alicia's been out for quite a while, and I think she's back now, isn't she? She came back and was on the bench, but she was out for quite some time, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And she's another player who's really, really took the team forward.
Yeah, just again, her and Emma Kelly, the two in the middle, they've been instrumental. Like England under 19s. You can see that when she's got the ball, the ability's there. She just controls the midfield, and she just pings the ball about. And she's done it all season until she's got injured. And I know she's been coming back with physio, but no, I will feed that back for years, because I get what you're saying. Like, people want to know, if one of them's took a knock, why aren't they playing? Naomi Bedu, she's took a knock as well. She's still out.
Yeah,
and she's going to be out for a while. So yeah, no, I get it.
I think it's just because Aran, the team has grown that quickly and been sort of getting more and more popular with the Newcastle fan base.
Yes.
I think that when sort of the men's side put out that, Botman today, injured, we don't quite get the same update from the women's side, and I think that would be good for the fan base as well, so they know who's probably not going to be on the team sheet for the next game and things like that.
Yeah. No,
but
I get it.
It's a learning process, isn't it? Really, they're growing just like every other club has to.
Yeah, I think it's moved that quick as well for probably Newcastle, and they're like, whoa, do you know what I mean? What's happening? Like, it's gone from them getting 28,000 into St. James's, and you know what I mean? Like, it's moved very quickly, and then obviously I've been involved in the commentary and that side of things, and that moved fast, and they've moved mountains in a season, literally. In less than a season, they've moved mountains, and now the exposure's there around the northeast, and I'm hearing people talking about, you know, some of the lasses, what you mentioned earlier, just walking down Northumberland Street. I got off the metro and to go to the Portsmouth game. And I got off the metro, I was coming up the steps just out the monument, and one of my friends was like, just stop a minute. And I was like, what? And I was thinking, what's going on? And then she turned to us and said, they're talking about you behind. They've just said your name and that, you know, who you are. You're the commentator for Newcastle. And I just went, I was like, Howay, do you know what I mean? And to me, and I thought, wow, like it's really getting like the exposure's there now for everybody, not just the lasses out there, for me as well, you know. So yeah, no, great to see.
And you know what I've noticed? Like, we've got a fantastic social media presence as well. The social team at Newcastle are doing a great job to post as much as they can, as well as like all of the different YouTube communities. You know, I think in regards to this, it's just about making sure that we're promoting the lasses and being a united front for them as well. But I did want to ask you a final question from me, Aran, in regards to like injuries with the women's team, because you know, Newcastle men's team are not too unfamiliar with injuries this season, as we know. But ACL injuries,
I've never noticed.
Who said that? ACL injuries, though. So this is an interesting one in the women's game, because they tend to have particularly big recovery times, but women are actually, I think it's like 4 to 6 times more at risk than men's are. That the UEFA have brought in like an expert panel on women's health, which is, it's great, and there's you know, calls for like more studies to happen. But is there an element of prevention in training that can be done, and what will the studies potentially do to support that prevention? Because the girls are playing more, they're training more, as you've said, in our league now, because we're full time. We've got to look after them and have that duty of care.
Yeah, there's been quite a few, and you're right in what you're saying. It's kind of stood out as to why are women getting more ACL injuries than the men. The studies, again, they're still plowing money into it to kind of get some sort of, not answer, because you never get a full answer, but an idea. They've brought out women's football boots, which you'll see now. You know, that was never a thing. And they're saying, you know, there could be issues with women's bone structure is totally different in their feet compared to men, and that's not helping, putting pressure on it.
Well, that's me educated. I had no idea about that. Absolutely no idea.
The muscle, you've obviously the back of your legs. Women's muscles are different to men's. Again, they're looking at, is it that? But yeah, I think at the end of the day, we've got to be vigilant of, you know, the sort of surfaces they're playing on. We again, it's down to funding. Like, you've got your local teams out there running around and on your local parks and stuff like that. It's just being careful. It's just being careful and not overdoing it. And I'm sure, you know, the likes of the physiotherapists that are involved with Newcastle Women, you know, are probably very much educated up on it to kind of try and stop that happening. I know, obviously, Newcastle men, we've had a hard season with injuries, as we all know. Very, very difficult. It's a bit like as I'm scratching my head, one of them, where each week we've got a different player injured, and we're like, oh no, we can't even feel the team now. It's getting bad. We're pulling players through. But on the plus side of things, we have getting Miley out of it. He's been absolutely outstanding for a youngster. He wouldn't have had the amount of game time against top 5 players and out of everything, he's definitely a positive that's come out of it, if anything.
Well, the thing is that some people may not know who are watching, but the women actually have a development team as well, don't they? So
Yes.
that's something that was put in place, and I think that they're doing really well as well. So to know that there's players coming through as well is even better.
There is. You've got the likes of, I mean, Jazz McQuaid, she's gone through the ranks and she's coming on. She's a up and coming youngster. Honestly, she's phenomenal. She's coming on. She was an impact player in the beginning because she was still young, and Becky was feeding her in as you do, and she needed game time, and it was the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the game, and she started coming on scoring goals, and it was like, hold on a minute, this youngster's not just being brought in. When she's coming on, she's scoring, and then she's managed to get her into herself in the starting 11, which is fantastic. And she's doing amazing. And she's come through the development squad, and you can see, the push there. They've got some great youngsters coming through, ready, sitting, dying to be in the first team. And that's a prime example is Jazz McQuaid.
Yeah,
it's long-term vision, isn't it? And
yeah.
I think we look unstoppable at the minute, and I think that for me, looking forward very much to the weekend, can Becky Langley's side take home a cup on Saturday, Aran?
Of course they can. Of course they can.
Absolutely.
It's going to be Howay The Lasses, and like the doubles there to be taken. It's a big thing of mine, and Sam, probably you already know this, is I always went by the quote that if you want something badly enough, it'll always be there for you if you want it badly enough. So
yeah,
them lasses will go out there and give it their all. And they can almost smell that cup, so they'll want to bring it back to the northeast. And at the end of the day, it's well deserved, to be honest, when they do, because
absolutely.
they've
100%.
put the graft in, they've pulled the performances out, they've come back from last week's when it was down, when the chips are down. It's how good is your team really? And it just goes to show it was from 2-0 down to still win 3-2. Like, the proof is in the pudding. So,
and I tell you what, get an open bus parade for them as well, because that's exactly what they deserve. Let's start a campaign for that if they bring the trophy home. Absolutely.
There's a lot of supporters going down. There's bus after buses going down, and there's I think probably half the stadium will be filled with Newcastle supporters. To be fair.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think I might go down. I'm still thinking about it.
You want to.
I know, I do. I do. I went to Wembley last year with the Carabao and ended up disappointed. But to see a Newcastle side win a trophy, I haven't seen that in my lifetime. So, this could be the moment.
And you're getting on a bit, Paul. You need to get it
There's
in.
absolutely no need for that. Like that is a shocking comment at the end of the show. Aran, just to ask you one more thing, as I move on from that disgrace of a co-host I've got. Next season, it's the championship, isn't it? Is that where they move into?
Yes, yeah.
So it's the full championship. I believe there is some. Is it all full time, or is there still some part-time teams in the championship?
No, I believe there's still some part-time.
How do you see Newcastle doing next season? I mean, obviously they'll make signings, etc. But as it stands right now, everything seems in place to give it a good go, doesn't it?
Yeah, they'll go, into the championship. I think with the team they've got, my personal opinion, maybe it's mid-table. But I do think, like anything, as they move up, naturally they bring in stronger and stronger players, and I don't think it'll take long for them to be promoted to the WSL. I give it 3 seasons, and they'll be up there and they'll be on TV all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it'll be before that, but 3 seasons, and they're going to be up there playing Chelsea, Man U every week, and so they should. It's gonna get them on a massive platform. Again, there'll be more supporters because people will be drawn in to watch them more. But yeah, I would love to see more supporters at Kingston Park. Don't get me wrong. By far, we've got a lot more support than anybody else in that league. We're we literally are the Toon army coming in. But it would be great to see Kingston Park fill out on a normal, Sunday, to see you know, they'll be able to sell out that stadium alone, week in, week out. And that's kind of what as well to strive for, and kind of the exposure from like the likes of you guys with your podcasts and things like that. You know, without that, you know, people don't get to hear or don't get to know the players from social media and things like that. That's massively helping right now.
Well, I think that obviously the lads at Newcastle Fans TV and Adam Pearson, they do great jobs, you know, exposing them. That's why we wanted to start a live show as well, because I don't think anybody does that. They don't do a live show talking about just dedicated to the Lasses team, which is what me and Sam are going to start doing every week. We want to try and bring, you know, people on for interviews. I don't know how difficult that's going to be to get some of the players or staff on. I think Sam might be pestering you to give a nudge somewhere along the line. But that's what we want to do, because obviously the more people we can get on to interview, the more exposure they get. You know, this channel itself is, you know, we're proud because it's the most watched live channel. You know, we have tremendous views on this channel, and it would really, really be great if we can really give that push to the Lasses team as well. So that's what we want to do moving forward. It's took a while, but we finally got there. Of course, Sam, who is a big fan of the ladies team as well, so she's the perfect host to have to do this kind of thing.
It's fantastic, and like I say, it's people like you know, getting it out there and talking about it, and more people are getting more interested. They want to hear about it, so it's great that there's use that update people and kind of give them a bit of insight as to what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, Danielle, who used to be a co-host on this show, she's gone 4-0 against #United. Knee bother, she says. So hopefully that's right. Aran, thank you so much for your time tonight. We really do appreciate it. It's been fantastic to have you on the first show. And listen, congratulations on your fantastic career and moving forward with your commentary and staying involved with Newcastle. I think it's brilliant, and you are one of the biggest inspirations for any young girl watching this now tonight to see what can be achieved. And hopefully they'll have watched this and thought, yeah, I want to play football. I want to have that framed cap in the background, and I want to do everything that Aran's done as well. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute
you're
pleasure.
Welcome. And
Aran, how can everybody follow you? Like Instagram, socials?
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram. It's just my name, Aran Embleton. So absolutely, if you can follow us, that would be great. I am doing private sort of functions, guest speaking. So if anyone's interested, please inbox me. But yeah, on the final.
It's happening.
On Saturday.
It's happening.
It
it's
is.
happening. It's actually happening.
We're bringing it home. We are.
Yeah, brilliant. Right, if you can just stay in the background, Aran, we'll be with you shortly.
No problem. Thank you very much. Take care.
Good night, everyone.
So there you go, guys. That was Aran. Absolutely brilliant way to start off Howay The Lasses live shows with me and Sam. We hope you've really enjoyed it. And I mean, I don't think we could have got anyone more inspirational, Sam, for the first show, to be honest. Absolutely incredible. Thank you for your questions. Sorry if I didn't get to your question, but as you can expect, we've had quite a few. But listen, thank you very much for watching tonight. Howay The Lasses will be back again at Wednesday next week at 7 o'clock. We're putting the feelers out, trying to get someone else to interview as well. Of course, we want to try and do that on most of the shows, to be honest, and really give this Lasses team the exposure they deserve. Shout them from the rooftops, and hopefully it will inspire more fans to go and see them at Kingston Park as well. But anyway, fingers are crossed for the cup final this weekend. I'm sure they're going to bring it home. No doubt about it. Sam, thank you very much for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for your super chats and your comments. It's been a great show. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening, folks, and we will see you very soon. Good night.
Come back and check out some green.